Hello everyone and welcome to this Age of Empires 4 showdown. It's going to be myself on the Mongols facing off against the English, who shall be led by TLR. So this is indeed going to be the dreaded island map. We all know how much people in the multiplayer community love these bad boys, but kind of interesting. Mongols, I think, are a bit of a hidden power on the island maps, and we'll go ahead and explain why once we get rolling here in the game. So first and foremost, with my Mongol town center, we're going to be relocating it. So I do pull it close to the trees, gold, and berry bushes. So it's a very nice 3-for-1. If you are a Mongolian player, that's one of the main things you're going to want to be doing, is really just immediately getting a snapshot of your surroundings and making sure you move your TC to the most optimal place. So here we move in next to the wild bamboo trees. Oh, there are actually different tree types here. Let's go ahead and see. So we have the wild dove tree, we have the larch tree. It's kind of cool. I don't think there's actually any difference, but it is neat that they went through the effort to put in those details there. Now, we are going to be going super hard here on the lumber. Now, what's really cool about Mongols is you start with infinite supply, so you don't have to build houses. Therefore, you have a little bit of extra wood here in the beginning. So that means I'm going to get my dock up right now. My English opponent still setting up the lumber mill, the house, and they are sitting on, let's see, 100 or 50 wood right now. I'm sitting on 100, so I can immediately start making fishing ships. So I think there's a bit of a hidden gem with the Mongols here on the island maps. So we'll be showing you another thing that I'm going to be going for this game. Now, something that's very unfortunate and a huge disadvantage for me is the fact that the starting islands on this map do not have any stone. Now, you guys know the Mongols have the Ovo building here, which basically gives you constant stone, allows you to get specialized upgrades, which would be amazing on these maps, on this kind of isolated, very economic focused map, is getting those power upgrades. But unfortunately, I have no stone on my starting island. So I was actually joking with my opponent right now. We were talking to one another, and I'm like, yeah, I got no stone on my island here, bud. I'm not going to be able to do any of my Mongol tricks. And we were both having a good laugh about that. But now you can see I have 2 fishing boats coming out. My opponent hasn't even had the chance to build a dock yet. So I'm starting to think that the Mongols might have a nice little edge here on these maps simply due to the starting parameters of their wood income. Now, we do also have this upgrade that we're going to be going for, which is called PIRACY. Mongol ships, you start with the light junks. They're basically like little arrow ships. However, they don't trade super well against like better ships like English galleys or like French hulks. You're really going to have a huge disadvantage there, but they are extremely fast. So what you can do with the Mongols to get a pretty massive economic lead is to use piracy. So every time you take down like a fishing ship, which is really easy to snipe, you get 50 wood and 50 gold when sinking any enemy ship. So this could be transpo ships. It's very, very powerful. So we are going to be going for that over the course of this game as we continue to just keep hitting the lumber. We have a couple guys on berry bushes as well, so we can get to tier 2 at a reasonable pace. And that's pretty much it. The Khan just running around the island. I was hoping to use the maneuver arrow. I was trying to do this in the beginning here to buff the speed of my workers, but then I did read the tooltip that it actually doesn't affect villagers, and a little bit sad about that. So the Khan isn't really going to have much to do this game. He's just going to ride around and look cool on his horse and just be a stylish leader for my army. Now, second dock will be coming up soon. Our lumber is quite solid. Our income should be pretty good if we look at the income per minute. It looks like he's a little bit ahead of me, but again, I do have the dock out way ahead of him. In terms of his fishing ships, he has none yet, whereas I already have, let's see, 3 fishing ships plus a villager here kind of getting down and dirty. Up on the top side of the map, his dock is almost finished. England is kind of an interesting civilization because if you do get trapped on an island, if your opponent is able to pin you in, you can actually still fight reasonably well. Most factions, of course, or civilizations. Sorry, my apologies, by the way. I know I'm calling them like factions and tiers and all these strange, terms that probably aren't really pertinent to Age of Empires, but I'm doing my best to get better at it. But the English actually can get the farms, and the English farms can get the farm enclosure upgrade, which at the Imperial Age, their farms actually give them gold, which is so damn strong. So they can kind of survive on a one island type economy, whereas other civilizations are really going to need to be expanding outwards and trying to do their best. Now, the Council Hall is going to be going down, and honestly, I still think it's probably better than the other one. The other one is like a healing aura, which longbowmen are pretty good against early island incursions, and that is a tactic that people do on island maps. People actually hate playing on them so much, typically, that sometimes they'll just do like all-in rushes on your shores and things like that. But the Council Hall still gives you longbowmen, can defend your shores. If I have like boats nearby, they can actually shoot them down a little bit. They can put some pressure on them and have better range than my boats, so I do like the choice of the Council Hall. Now, for my landmark, I don't think we've gotten it quite yet. We will be getting it here in a second, but our landmark is going to be the Silver Tree. The Silver Tree is a landmark which I believe is a superior market. It helps with trading and a couple other things like that, but I just figured, hey, let's get a marketplace out of it, because the other Yam Network one, I don't know how useful it would be on this island. I guess my workers would be a little bit faster. Anyways, here, fishing boat's going pretty hard. You can see my food economy is going to massively skyrocket ahead of my opponents because of the superior fishing economy. And I figured I could catch him in tier 2. I now have enough to go to the second age, and we are going to be building the silver tree. So markets acts as a market, builds traders faster, and at 50% reduced cost. So I didn't know if this applied to the trade boat. So this is something I wanted to kind of explore this game to see if it applied to my trading boats as well. So trade ships cost 300 and they cost 100 gold as well. So we'll kind of keep tabs and see if they get a discount from the silver tree. So we'll see what happens. Should be fun. Now up at my opponent's base, he's got 3 fishing boats against my 7 at the moment. I'm getting my second dock, and now I am going to start producing some military ships as soon as I get to tier 2, or age 2 I should say. Oh, look at that, I caught myself. In the council hall, still pumping away at 3,000 HP here. Mine is at 2,600. I did actually put a lot of workers into it because I knew getting the naval advantage would be quite big. I also have transitioned some of my villagers over to the gold vein here just so I could get the piracy upgrade almost right away, because this is actually really strong for Mongols. Even if your opponent has a superior navy to you, your ships are much faster, the light war junks, so you can like run away, and when they go to attack your base, you can raid their fishing economy and pick off their boats. The war junks, the light war junks, can also shoot while they're moving. So you can like chase down enemy ships and pick them off and usually do pretty well for yourself. So my opponent looks like he's going for an early island expansion, which I think is certainly clever. A lot of people don't expect it. He can get here and get, proper control, get some stone, get some wood. However, the one up north is certainly better here, but neither of us know. We have the fog of war at the moment, so we don't know which of the islands is going to be better. Now back down, we have the docks finishing. And I believe the warships will start coming out now. So yes, we do have the first light junks producing. I think a second one will be coming here in a second. And we're going to be saving up for the piracy to make sure we get that before we attack, because we want to maximize the value. So the first English settlers have come, going to be landing on these shores here of the western lands. And not the best resources on this island. We got a little bit of stone so we can get like keeps and perhaps build, just get some sustainability and defense around the sacred site. But overall, this is the really juicy one because of the 2 gold veins, which is pretty unfortunate for my opponent. It was just kind of RNG, right? And we had no way of knowing, so he just ended up landing on one that was a little bit tougher. In terms of score, I'm slightly ahead, probably because of my fishing economy. The food, wood, and gold is a little bit higher across the board, just showing how the Mongols can do pretty damn good here with the early fishing boats. And now the light junks are moving out. I believe the third one is going to be underway, and the piracy upgrade should be started any second now. I think I was just waiting for 250 gold, and here it comes. The piracy upgrade is right away at the 250. So it doesn't take too long. I believe it takes about a minute. Yeah, 1 minute to get that finished. So hoping to pick off some of these English ships. If I take out all 4 of these fishing boats, that's 200 gold and 200 wood, which is incredibly good, right? You only need 600 gold to go to the next age, in conjunction with food, of course. But food isn't going to be a problem on this fishing situation at all. We have 9 fishing boats against our opponent's like 4 or 5. I think he's also getting a couple up in the north. He had another dock down here, so yeah, now he's starting to really fan out and get that good fishing economy. The English have set up a stone outcropping here, which is a good idea because the stone will allow him to expand, so he can get a second TC here, assuming he has pretty good wood economics on his mainland, which he does. Looks like the double broad axe upgrade is coming in for the English, and as far as my upgrades go, I haven't really done anything yet. And I was really bummed that I did not have the OVO here because I wanted to get those juicy upgrades, but I just couldn't get them, which was a huge bummer. But I figure instead of upgrades, getting my light junks preparing, and this was very lucky for me as well. He did send his boat over, a transport ship. He was going to secure both islands, but I did manage to see this. And now we're going to be getting in there with the light junks. They're zooming in. If you guys are wondering how to zoom in and get some cinematics, you can just use your mouse wheel to zoom in. And we do get the English fishing boat down before it reaches the shore, and you can see we do get the resources. So 25 and 25. I thought it was 50 and 50, but maybe it depends on the type of ship that you are going to be sinking here. So fishing boats still jumping around, looking for some prey, going to be trying to poach on his fishing fleet here. And I would imagine the English galleys will begin to come out, and we'll see what we can get done. Now, something else you have to actually be careful about is the fact that the town hall, the TC here for my opponent, does actually do a bonus for his ships. So you can see a couple of shots coming from the TC there are able to really take down my boats quite quickly. Now, yeah, still a pretty bad positioning. If it's the late game, for example, and you have like a big bombardment fleet with like cannons, that town hall is going to be paying the troll toll, and I got a little bit more of a favorable position. But again, I think I actually started like up here, but I was able to relocate my Mongolian town hall, which is pretty hilarious. Now, we pick off a couple of fishing ships, so we get a little bit of gold, a little bit of wood, feeling pretty good in that regard. Now, the next thing you want to do, if you do manage to get a little bit of control on somebody's coast, is you want to have a bit of a blockade. Fish out your boats, or fish them out, I guess, spread them out, or fish them out among the coast, whatever works best for you, and just make sure they don't have more docks. My opponent does have a little bit of a fishing fleet down here, something that I would certainly like to hunt. And yet again, the TC able to get in there and do some pretty solid damage. If we take a look at my opponent's town center here, you can see the damage profile. It does 8 base and plus 25 versus ship. So I think that actually scales. I think for every single worker you have in there, they shoot an arrow, so you can get a massive spike against enemy ships. which is definitely good on this map, because if it didn't do damage against ships and I could just like sit on the coast with my boats and shoot at his workers, disrupt this like lumber economy, that would be really, really brutal for sure. Nonetheless, more of the light junks coming in to actually raid the docks and try and bring them down. Their damage profile is okay. They do 10 base damage, 5 versus incendiary ships, but aside from that, not going to be super quick at taking out a dock because it has 50 armor against ranged. So for example, my 10 damage is being reduced down to 1 per shot. So very, very slow. Of course, I do have the burst profile. Now, the English continue to reign here on this island, getting a fair amount of stone. If we look at the income per minute, my opponent is doing pretty well there, and sadly, since I was not able to get an uvu this entire game due to the fact that I don't have a goddamn stone node on my island, I'm a little bit behind in terms of getting those fancy upgrades. Now, this is actually my favorite landmark for the Mongols. It is the steppe redoubt. So it acts as a resource collection site, but gold that is dropped off there, it does increase by 50%. So for example, if they drop off 10 gold, you're going to be getting, I believe, 15 in total, which is huge, right? Adding 50% to the 8,000 that you're getting from this gold vein is insanely good value. What's also very neat about the steppe redoubt is you can pack it up. I don't know if you can actually load it on a ship. I haven't tried that. Oh my god. Oh my god, can the Mongols do that? Can you load buildings up on transport ships and then like take them to your opponent's base? That would be wild. So my little fishing fleet here did come up and we cleaned up the fishing boats, so got about 150 gold and wood respectively for that little raid. A little bit of piracy action up on the north side. I have my other light junk here hunting down the ships, and let's see how much we get for this fishing boat right here, as I do notice in just a second, pull that back, and my other boat here is basically just slowly wearing him down. So at this point in the game, I thought he was completely trapped on the island. I felt pretty confident. I was like, okay, he's pinned in, I'm in good shape, and you can see the score does reflect that. 1796 to 1073. Oh, it looks like it actually goes back down when they lose him. That's kind of cool. But we do take out a couple fishing boats, force him back, and I would imagine now England is probably going to be switching to a farm economy. Let's look around. He's got the council hall, no farm economy yet, so his food income is very low. You can see I'm at about 650, he's sitting at 160. England can switch very well though. If you have a very healthy lumber economy, which of course England, is typically going to have on a map like this, you can just get farms galore, because for England, farms only cost 37 food, whereas farms for most factions cost 75. For the Mongols, pastures cost 150, but considering I have a pretty good fishing fleet, I really don't need to be switching into a pasture economy quite yet until, I really deplete my coasts. Even then, though, the deep sea fish, a lot of people don't know this, they actually do respawn. So if you're able to fully clean up a deep sea fish reserve, I don't know how long it takes, but I think in a couple minutes it does respawn and you're able to kind of get at it once again. Down to the bottom, we are making sure to finish off those ports, so he's going to have to rebuild them. You'll notice I'm leaving a ship down here just to make sure that there's no more funny business. I've left 2 ships to kind of patrol the coast, and I will be going back up north to finish this one off. Unfortunately, I can't quite get this dock down because he does have the town center protecting it with the bonus. He also has a trade ship here, probably not going to be terribly safe considering most of the trade routes are blocked off by the dreaded Mongolian fleet. So wearing this down, a couple English longbowmen shooting into the boat here. It does have 3 armor versus ranged, so the longbows will be hitting it for 3 damage, which isn't insignificant. It does, of course, add up. But there's only 2 longbowmen there, so not going to be too much of a problem, and we should be able to get that bad boy down. So the silver tree not being terribly useful, though the one thing that's kind of nice about it is it does, of course, give me just a marketplace. So I didn't have to spend the resources earlier to get a marketplace, but I don't think it reduced the cost of my trade ships. Let's actually go ahead and check here. So looking at the trade ship, it still costs the same. So it does reduce the cost of land-based traders, so in the end, it proved to not really be worth it, which is a little bit of a shame, but what can you do? So second TC coming up. I'm just going to be hitting this gold pretty hard. In terms of the economics of this battle, I am rocking 58 workers. My opponent probably going to be far less, down to 44. So the double TC has really kicked in, and England has just been trying to get off its island. It does have this nice expansion here, and they have their second TC up. So going to be boosting their lumber economy, and in a moment here, I will be getting a transport ship set up, and I will be trying to colonize this northern island, looking to get a sacred victory. England is a very good defensive faction. They have the network of castles, so they can buff nearby units with attack speed. Here we come in for a raid, we take down a fishing ship, but the town center once again able to really punish my light junk. And now England has galleys, so galleys have 550 HP. They have a better damage profile, I believe, so they have 10 damage there against my 10, but it seems like they have other profiles as well. Yeah, so tiles range is 6. Let's go ahead and see what the range of my boats is. And tile range is 4. So yeah, the galleys are going to be far superior fighters. He does have 3 of them, so this means that England here, though they are pretty much in the pits in terms of food, might be able to make a little bit of a comeback at sea with their galleys finally pushing back my lower tier ships. So in response to this, I will be producing the explosive junks. Explosive junks are really, really powerful against superior ships, and that's kind of how Mongols have to handle enemy fleets in the 3rd age. Now, my opponent's only in the 2nd age, but let's say he was in the third age, he was getting some really, really strong like hulks and bigger ships. Basically, you want to zerg them with your haggard light junks, right? Just zergling swarm them. You get the banelings in there, just have some fun. And then from there, you basically just slip it in there. You get the explosive junk in there, and it does brutal damage. And we see the profile, yeah, 300 base damage plus 200 versus a warship. So looking at the HP of these guys, they have 550. So it won't quite one-shot them, but if they've taken 50 damage, they will indeed explode. And it also does AoE damage. So if you can catch them in a bit of a blob, it's very, very strong. So just kind of maintaining the blockade down here. I can't quite crack in because of the Town Hall, allowing my opponent to get a little bit of a fleet going. But right now, his food economy is really, really in the pits. We have the King's Palace, so it looks like he is going to be going Castle Age with another TC here. The King's Palace is one of their landmarks, and yeah, it's quite cool for sure. And that's what's neat about England. They can expand very well because their landmarks are keeps and expansions, which is incredibly effective. So just going for the deer here, I'm going to be getting a slight expansion. I really, really do think that he should be getting the farm economy going, but opting to go for the deer, maybe just investing all of his wood in a navy, which I certainly understand, because just sitting on your island is no way to win. However, he does have this big expansion here, and there you go. So he is getting the farm economy done there. I was hoping that he had done that because I didn't know that was happening here. So fleet going in. There go the explosive junks. Huge damage, just crushing the English fleet. Those junks are so effective against these type of ships. And the piracy trade is just giving me a ton of resources when I bring them down. So all the damage that we did sinking those ships, just a massive amount of resources. And it's only 25 and 25. I thought it was more, so a correction from my earlier commentary, but we are able to take down the English fleet. Though we take some casualties ourselves, we kind of keep them pinned in. Now up here, we are going to be expanding. We're building a prayer tent, which will allow us to build a shaman to capture the sacred site. And then from here, we will be building another TC on this island to try and just get the resources up north. Might get this bad boy and go from there. So we are about ready to go to the next age. So we are going to be building the White Stupa. So since I couldn't get a damn Uvu the entire game, this bad boy serves as an Uvu, and it also gives you 240 stone per minute, and so I can get those cool resources now, the cool benefits. I just need to gather a little bit of stone and then build some buildings nearby to get the augmented upgrades that the Mongols get access to with their Uvu. Now back on the English island, they have started to get pretty decent little gold economy. The deer camp is underway, and honestly my opponent's catching up a little bit in food, 730 to 950, although I've been spending most of my naval resources on just getting a big naval fleet to try and keep them pinned in instead of actually just expanding my food situation here at sea, which is maybe a little bit of a mistake. If we look at the current resources for myself, I'm a little bit low on wood. All these military ships have been adding up, and my opponent's lumber economy is actually surpassing me pretty massively because of his island expansion here. Granted, here we have really, really good gold. Our gold's at actually 1350 because of the step readout, so every drop off here is just huge, huge money. Now, getting a pretty scary fleet. We have the explosive junks. We now have a war junk as well. So the quality of our fleet's getting a little bit better. There is an enemy trade ship here, so we're going to be going in and looking for some loot. All hail the mighty. They're rising from the deep, and we're coming for that piracy. So we take down that ship right there. Really got to make sure to keep the English contained here. The third TC of mine is going to be coming down here. Now, Mongols, in terms of TCs, they actually only need wood to make them happen. So you can see here we are able to get that with the 900 wood. Down here on the south side, I did replace my Gare, so I moved it over here to make sure that the wood economy wasn't dragging all the way back to my base. And that's something, if you're a Mongol player, just to be very aware of, that your collection buildings can move. So as you dig deeper and deeper into a forest, or cut deeper and deeper into a forest, you can replace these buildings and move them up and pack them up. It's very, very funny for sure. I actually got owned really, really bad on stream like a week ago by some gentleman who packed up a landmark that healed all of his units, moved it outside my base, and was just raiding me nonstop. It was super gangster. That was a really, really cool game. Here, he is building a keep on the coast, and in terms of resources, honestly doing a pretty decent job scrapping back into this game. And here comes the demolition ship, and you can see it actually does pretty big damage to buildings too. So we use the demo ships to actually destroy his docks, and does a little bit of damage against the TC, not too much, but really I just wanted to kill his docks here so he couldn't muster a fleet. I am taking some casualties to his town hall, which of course gets the bonus for ships, and we don't quite get that. I didn't want to stay the course and just lose more and more, so he is able to kind of stabilize one of his docks here, but I think that's pretty much it. My blockade on the south side has been effective, and here it's starting to go pretty good. So now the next phase of the glorious Mongolian plan is underway. We're going to be getting the stables, so we're building a bunch of stables here, and the idea is I'm going to get a ton of knights, get an invasion fleet, and land on his shores and just run through his lands, because, I think that's pretty strong. The Mongolian Knights, of course, have some pretty powerful charges. I don't know if they have any special bonuses or technologies. I think there are some at the Uvu here. Let me go ahead and check. Now, the White Stupa, I know they have some unique cav upgrades. And that's also something that's nice about the blacksmith. The Mongolians don't have to build a university at tier 4. They actually just get all those fancy upgrades at their blacksmith. So like biology, elite army tactics, chemistry, incendiary arrows. And you can get the upgraded biology, which gives you 30% more health instead of 20% more health. So the Mongolian cavalry can actually be a little bit more durable than the average cavalry. So we move in with the junks, we sink his ships once again, and now we have our war junks finishing off his Hulk here. The war junks are very similar to the Hulks, a little bit less HP. I think they're slightly faster. So looking at their speed profile, let's see, 1.15 against 1.12, yeah, so they're a tiny bit faster. And now you can see our fishing has gone a little bit more deep sea. We also have trade ships returning gold. They do return lumber and gold, which is very, very nice. So the lumber, of course, helps to sustain the naval efforts. Now, I did try and land down here, but this was the first time in the game I did discover that the dreaded English did indeed have an island situation. So I was like, God damn it, not going to be able to get that sacred site. That was one of my kind of ideas for victory. And the stables are just kind of standing ready. I am in the Imperial Age. We will be upgrading to Elite Lancers soon and preparing our big, scary fleet. Also going to be building archery ranges to get some handgunners to back up my horsemen. Now, looking around, the transport ship is coming back. I'm going to have to get a couple more workers and maybe dedicate more of a military force to this situation. England is just spamming hulks, and I've actually learned this the hard way. I had a couple games where I had map control, or island control, I should say, or ocean control, and my opponent was able to spam out hulks, and they actually defeat big tier ships pretty effectively, especially in numbers. They can definitely zerg in that way. And I kind of make the same mistake here of going with the big Bao-chans here. These are the big cannon warships, which are pretty good, but they're incredibly expensive. And facing off against like fleets of hulks, I find that they don't trade super effectively. I mean, they're good if they're supported by smaller ships, but if you send them in by themselves, it can be a little bit tough. So now the Elite Lancers are coming out. I have a couple upgrades. You can see I do have ranged upgrades as well as a couple melee upgrades. We're going to be getting a bunch of docks here, not only for the military naval infrastructure, but also to get the transport ships going. And here, unfortunately, I am going to be building a shaman and hiding him on the shore, but we'll see how that goes. Now, as far as economics go, my opponent does have 99 workers, actually, so I think he may have caught up a little bit. I actually have 121, so I have a little bit too many, probably. Yeah, here, this is just anarchy. You can see I kind of lost control of things. Oh, it's because I was repacking this up. So I did go to move it closer, and I misclicked, so I didn't repack it. So now all my lumber workers are just, like, hoofing it. So that was pretty crappy, but, you know, it's okay. Mistakes were made. So the war junks moving back out. My opponent's still in the old castle age, and we are Imperial. It's got a scary fleet here, but now we have the big Papa ships. These things are so cool. And what they're really good against is buildings. They can really take apart like things like keeps. They're basically like bombard cannons, and they do very, very well for you. So here comes the Dread fleet. So they're going to be moving up. We'll do a little bit of fast forwarding here to get to the action slightly swifter for you all. And the bombards are going in. So look at that keep just get absolutely flattened here. But I do pull back a little bit knowing that the war junks are taking that bonus. Does the keep do bonus for a ship as well? It looks like it does, man. So that's some brutal, brutal damage. But the idea is I take out this keep and then my landing force goes here and we just like cackle at our opponent. So the bombards do bring down the keep, I think, or not quite. Yes, we get it right there. The keep has fallen. It's going to require quite a bit more stone to get that operational. Now the bombard ships have turned onto the hulks, but you can see the hulks actually do some considerable damage because I believe they have a bonus per ship. No, they don't. It's 100 base damage. And yeah, many of the hulk ships are going down, but they are zerging me pretty bad. And I have some attack ships and demolition ships that have come back, so hopefully we can equalize this fight here at sea. But the bombard cannon's doing some nice damage. I mean, still bringing him down, but in terms of trades, he's probably coming out a little bit ahead. Granted, hulks are 270 and 216 here. He probably has the shipwrights upgrade, so England has an upgrade that makes their ships cheaper. But overall, yeah, my fleet kind of gets swarmed, but now the demolition ships are coming in to equalize the fight. The first one going to be jumping in there real quick. We do get one hulk, and the other one's going to be getting hit right in the face, and down it goes. But the Berkshire Palace was built, so my opponent during all that power built a keep right here, his tier 4 landmark, and he is able to take down my big warships. Also, he gets a keep set up here in the back. So he builds a keep in the back of my base during that whole engagement. I did pull my Lancers and handgunners over here to take that out. But, you know, it's taken a little bit of meat to get that down. I am mass producing horsemen here. I believe I was, or at least I will be in just a second to continue to bring this down. And we do have some workers on standby right here who are going to move in and probably try and set up some artillery stations and things like that. The damn English keep here is causing some serious problems for sure. And he was able to fend me back, but I have a lot of resources. I've been quite ahead for a long time on gold and wood, and our food is pretty even right now. England's farm economy is really good at getting them back in the game, and now he's probably going to get farming closures, which means each of these farms will be giving him gold. And that's what I was saying, like, England can't survive turtles. Most factions will be gold starved, but they typically won't. They'll do very well for themselves in that situation. So almost have the keep down. The horsemen are trying to torch it, the elite lancers, and now more horsemen are coming out to prepare for the invasion fleet, and the big warships are coming in to team up with our explosive junks and smaller ships that we have nearby, and I do not think that England is going to be able to kind of sustain. Looking at the resources, he's doing pretty good on food, but his gold is very sparse. You can see I'm rocking 3,000 gold. He's kind of in the lower, yeah, like 400 or 500, give or take, so it's going to be hard for him to keep up in that regard. Cannon ships will be bombarding here in just a moment. And the horsemen were able to deal with the keep. So what I do now is I load them into the boat here, and I'm going to be bringing them downtown here to actually take over this island, because I know if I can push the England off this island here, it's probably going to be GG for them, because this is their entire food economy, right? This is where their gold's going to be coming from. The farm enclosures is being researched now. So hopefully you guys will get a chance to see the spike in gold income. Just kind of take note of like the 450 they have right now, because they can't take the gold nodes on the coast because of my naval dominance. The one up here, of course, isn't being mined too heavily, which it probably should be at this point, but anyways, here comes the big Bao-Chan's going to be dropping the bombards here on the Hulks. These things do have 2,000 HP and a fair amount of armor, and they can definitely trade well. But again, like I said, I find that the lower tier ships can certainly zerg them and give them a lot of grief. So we'll keep dropping the bows here on these units. And here comes the invasion force. We're landing here and power building a siege workshop, which will be allowing us to get some bombards. As far as our supply, we're already capped, which honestly, most of it's in workers. We have 122. So in this situation, what I start doing is going around the map and actually deleting many of my workers just to make sure that I can get a suitable army to actually try and finish this game. And it's a mistake I make quite a bit. You know, I go too heavy in the eco. It's kind of an instinct I have from playing StarCraft back in the day, just constantly making probes and drones and all that kind of stuff. So gotta be careful. It's certainly good to constantly produce workers for most of the game, but in the late game, it's very easy to go overboard, and then you'll find that your army is quite a bit smaller than your opponent's. So the warship's moving in once again. Going to start dropping some big bombardments here on the English fleet. The Hulks will hold okay, but against my war junks as well as the big bombard ships, this is typically how you want to have your fleets, right? Just like these big cannon ships supported by smaller ships to take most of the damage. But yeah, we're getting a lot of work in there. More cavalry are being made on the main island, and bombard cannons will be out in just a second here on the south side to help clean things up. And for now, we're going to keep bombarding the coast. Although, man, that Berkshire Palace was really able to do some serious damage. And it looks like that was a demolition ship, I think, going in for my fleet there. Almost able to get in. Another Hulk coming out, but we pretty much have him pinned in here, so we are going to be able to do as we please. So one cannon, unfortunately, supply block, so I do realize this in a moment. I will be deleting a bunch of my workers here just to make sure I can actually get those darn cannons. And I think any second now we do realize this. Yep, so the first cannon is out. We're going to start hitting that palace pretty hard. Bombard cannons, of course, do massive damage against buildings, plus 340 versus buildings, so they hit these keeps incredibly hard. It's very, very tough to repair through them. The Holy Roman Empire is probably one of the only factions that can like survive consistent bombardment and siege. So he does move out here with a couple knights. The knights are trying to dive my cannon, but my handgunners and cavalry force that I did send in here were able to win the day. Now they're going to move in. Lance is couched or not. Looks like they're drawing the swords for the extra dramatic effect. We will be doing battle with the English knights, but our Mongolian lancers are far more upgraded, and they're going to be cutting through these English peasants like butter. And the keep is going to be melting here as we also take down the English monastery. And at this point, it's going to be very tough for them. Our naval fleet has pretty much asserted complete dominance, which means he's probably going to be losing the TC as well as the Berkshire Palace to my naval fleet, which is certainly a death knell here for the English. But look at his gold. This is something we want to take a look at here. Look at what his farm economy was able to give him. Now he is getting more gold than me. And I have like the whole island. I was able to get like good gold farming here in my main base. The English farm economy is crazy in terms of the gold it can actually produce. And I think he actually has a relic back here as well. Maybe going to be trying a dreaded whoa, low, low. So this is pretty much the end of the road. We clean up the coast, my opponent surrenders, and that is going to be GG, well played. So I just want to show you guys like this. I wanted to show you this replay to show you the power of the Mongolians as a naval power, because I think they're incredibly underrated. The piracy, the speed of their fleet, the speed at which you can get the naval elements, like you don't have to build the house, you don't have to build the lumber mill, you can move your TC. So then you have this extra wood, you can basically instantly build a dock and then from there start farming. I think it's really strong and I think it's incredibly underrated. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. It was certainly a really, really fun match. I don't know where the damn profile was. I wanted to look at the graphs and all that, but for some reason it doesn't always show you in replays. But anyways, my friends, we'll be back with more replays soon. I have some really funny ones coming up, some dreaded camel games. But again, I really appreciate you all. Thank you for joining here on the channel, and we'll see you probably tomorrow. Cheers.